Thank you for joining today's conference, Real-Time Settlement Review Training. Before we begin, please ensure you have opened the WebEx chat panel by using the associated icon on the bottom right corner of your screen. You may submit written questions throughout the presentation, and these will be addressed during the Q&A. To submit questions, select Everyone or All Attendees from the drop-down menu in the chat panel. Enter your question and send your question. If you require technical assistance, please send the chat to the event producer. All audio lines have been muted, and this event is being recorded. With that, I will turn the conference over to Mr. Rodney Jackson. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, all. So welcome to the Real-Time Settlements Review Training. As Yazi told you, I'm Rodney Jackson, Senior Client Trainer. So let's go ahead and begin. So what we will cover today, we'll be talking about the background. We will discuss the new process, what the impact is. We'll take a couple of questions, and then we will review the resources, and then we will wrap up. Just a few housekeeping items, just to please make sure you are muted. And if you have questions, please ask. This is designed for you, so please go ahead and ask us. So let's jump into it. So what has changed? Well, the current process, CAISO settles unaccounted for energy for all EIM entities. So what is going to be changing is how the individual EIM entities can settle their UFEs, their unaccounted for energy. So what prompted this change? An entity requested to allow entities to select how to settle UFEs. So there was a request brought up at an EIM quarterly meeting by the EIM BAAs to consider allowing the entities to select whether or not to settle the UFEs. So because of this request, the ISO conducted some research and proposed a solution for UFE settlements. So what is the change? The change allows EIM entities to self-schedule losses associated with base schedules, as well as incorporating the real-time market losses within the load for uninstructed energy imbalance settlements. So what's the new process? An annual election process occurs each November for trade dates of January through December for the following year. For the trade period of November 1st, 2021 and all of 22, CAISO needs the election letter received by September 1st. And if not, the elections made for this calendar will default to what the CAISO does currently, which is to settle the UFE as it does today. So what must you do for the election process? You must submit a city ticket with the attached UFE letter, which will be included in this presentation. The subject line must read UFE elections, so that way it gets routed to the right place. And the EIM entities will be notified through the current city ticket process once the process has been completed. So what does that letter include? I will show you what the letter includes right here. So this is for the first one. So the UFE annual election, this is the template that you will use. You will copy this, use this exactly as it is, changing the thing. So you're going to settle yes or no, and you're going to put in the contact information down here at the bottom. For next year, you will need to use this letter that needs to be submitted by the date of fair at the top for 10/31 of 2021 for business year of 2022. And again, it's the same form, but you'll notice here that the UFE elections is for 2022, and you do need to select either yes or no to settle, and then put the contact information at the bottom. It is important that you do meet these dates. Now, you will have the option to change during Market Sim, and the Market Sim will be communicated through the Market Sim meetings. Now, there's a couple of questions that came up through this, and now what if an EIM entity misses submitting a UFE election letter by the deadline? What will be the impact? The default elections will be used, and the entity will be subject to the UFE settlement the way that CAISO does it currently. Now, if the EIM entity selects to not settle UFE options for the Market Sim, if they want to change it to yes, can they change it? Yes. You can make a change once during Market Sim before the go live trade date of 11/1/2021. Now, the question also came up, in light of everyone working remotely, would KAISO accept an electronic signature instead of an actual one because everyone is working at home? The answer is yes, an electronic signature for this purpose is acceptable. So now, what are the impacts? Here are the impacted charge codes. The impact to operations will be the low case schedule calculations will be considered at a 0% loss factor. And again, this was because the entities requested to be able to settle this on their own. Here's the current market sim scenario. The link is included in this PowerPoint presentation. Now, during market sim, we're going to run two different scenarios. So the first scenario that we run is going to be set to the default yes. Then we're going to run the scenario again and set the flag to no. And now if you want to keep it at the no setting, you'll need to submit a city ticket to change your UFU flag election or election flag to no to not settle it, to have us not settle it for you. What questions do we have? Yasi, do we have any questions from the audience?
Not through the chat. If you would like to take any verbal questions, if you have logged into WebEx, please use the raise hand icon above your chat box to enter the question queue. If you have used a phone to dial in, please press #2 on your telephone keypad. There are no questions in the queue at the moment.
Thank you, Yasi. All right, if you guys would like more information, this PowerPoint presentation will be posted, and this information will be available to you in addition to some of the links for the resources. So please feel free to use the resources that are available to you, and you can always reach out to us at customerreadiness@kaiso.com, or you can submit a city ticket if you have questions. If there are no further questions, then that will conclude today's presentations.
There are a question. There are
okay.
Questions. We're going to go to the first caller. Your line is on.
I can't do it because we don't have much time.
Hi, this is Jose Dolores from LADWP. I just had a question. So for the billing determinants that's used in 64770, if we don't elect to settle, do those charge, I guess those billing determinants that's used in 64770 just move into the other impacted charge codes, kind of like an offset kind of thing? Or I guess I just really don't understand how it impacts the other charge codes.
Thank you. Shu Ping, can you answer that question for us?
Yeah, can you move back to the slide that shows all the charge codes? Yeah, here. So we make direct calculation changes at in 64740 and 6985. Oh, how come it's not showing? And the real-time congestion pre-call. So those are three that have direct calculation changes. The other one shows 64770 and 6985067770. those are just indirectly impacted. So the dollar amount may be different, and so there's in our stakeholder process website, there's a Excel example that shows how those other charge codes may be impacted. So it will be very hard to explain verbally, but you can go to that website, find that Excel example. It is give example explaining the impact on those indirectly impacted charge codes.
Okay, thank you. I guess what was the pre-calc that you mentioned that was updated?
Real-time congestion pre-calc.
Real-time congestion. Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Thank you. What other questions do we have?
Let's go to the next caller. Mr. Cruz, your line is open.
Good morning. This is Jonas from SMUD. So I have a question regarding the base load schedule, because I know in the recent sub meeting that occurred last Wednesday, August 18th, it was mentioned in there that if you elect for if you elect no for UFE settlement, your initial base load schedule will use a 0% loss factor. So wouldn't that impact other charge flow calculation like your UIE 647 FITC? And how does it impact other operation tests that is ISO does for EIM participants? Because I know in one of the slides that says the impacted charge flow, it doesn't mention 647 FITC, but given that the base load schedule will have a 0% loss factor now, wouldn't that impact UIE as well?
It's 64750 is on the slide.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's in the other table. I think I didn't see it in there, but right here. Okay, so you would just apply 0% loss factor for that then.
Yes, is that correct, Xuping?
So before, there will be a transmission loss factor that will be used to calculate the base schedule. Now, if you choose not to settle UFE, then our ISO will have a 0 transmission loss, and you will have 0 transmission loss. So, so there will be a shift between on that base schedule load calculation. So there will be some shift between those load calculation, those base schedule load and the other amounts that impact the UFE. Again, I will direct you to look at the example we provided in the Excel file. It gives specific example on how each charge code will be affected.
So hey, Xuping, this is Jonas. So yeah, regarding the settlement, so how about the balancing test result though? It's like we use the base schedule and now you'll not apply that loss percent factor. Wouldn't that affect that as well? So that one is on the operational side, and then that one will be also used in the settlement for another charge code 6045 over under for that case.
Let me find that example here. Oh, actually, Rodney, Uma said she's trying to speak, but nobody can hear her. Can you help her?
So sorry, this is Yossi again. Can I have the name of the person that's trying to speak?
Uma,
Hi, this is Uma. Can you hear me?
Uma. Oh, I didn't
Yes,
know that.
Uma, we can hear you
Hi.
now.
Hi, sorry. Hi, thank you guys, because I'm trying to speak up for the last two questions. I'm sorry, I joined late. So Jonas, that's a good question. But so what happened is when you have it is not going to impact balancing test results, but when you elect not to settle USP, the loss percentage will be 0. So when we get all the base schedule, when we calculate the load base schedule, we are going to take a gen plus NSI and the minus loss megawatt, right? The loss megawatt might be 0. But I don't think this is going to impact 60-45 over and under scheduling settlement. That was your question, right, Jonas?
Well, there will be a direct impact though, right? Because now that you're not applying that, wouldn't that kind of skew the numbers, for example, for the balancing test? So now before we might be adding or failing our balance.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about it, Jonas. So, Jonas, how do we calculate the load-based schedule? We get all the generator-based schedule imports and exports from entity, EIM entity, right? And we take gen plus NSI. And since the loss percentage is going to be 0, the loss megawatt is going to be 0. And so let us say when we include all those gen plus NSI minus 0 losses, let us say it is 1,000 megawatts. That is the load-based schedule for settlements. And when you submit the meter data also, you need to apply that 0%. So the meter will also be, meaning close to the, load-based schedule. In this example, it should be 1,000. So there will be no UIE. There will be no UIE. Right. Meter also you need to apply. So that is the reason, because when you are submitting the meter data, you have to do that so that it will be even. It will be in both sides of the calculation.
Because I think one of the proposals for this UFE is that because some EIM participants have a different way on factoring losses versus the market optimization losses that is used by the ISO. So is that what you're saying, is that the load, whatever is now that we're not, if for example, EIM participant does not elect, then it should be factored in those losses already submitted by the EIM participants in the ISO. Does that sound right? Okay. Okay, makes sense.
No, actually, I think it could impact your balance and test only on the settlement side. You could get some over scheduling charge because of this shift on how to calculate the schedule.
Yeah, that's why.
Chooping. That is correct, Chooping, but it doesn't have a direct impact because over and under scheduling there is a tolerance. So if you are not providing the meter information correctly, it can impact. But it's not. There's no direct connection. There's no direct connection. That's all.
There's no direct impact on the operation, the balancing test, but you could trigger some the over scheduling charges there, just because the base schedule calculation will be changed.
Yeah, so I guess we just have to look into that in our markets when we look at the base load schedule and compare what the results will be.
Yeah. Have you looked at the UFE example I also provided? Actually, it explains how the numbers change using examples. I highly recommend you to look at that.
Is the link in the presentation?
So you have to go to there's a stakeholder initiative page. So Rodney, maybe I can send you the link. You can forward to whoever are interested.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Shuping.
Sure.
You're welcome.
Let's move to the next question. Your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
This is Amanda Alberti from Turlock Irrigation District, and I didn't hear you say when the market sim scenario is scheduled for.
Do you want me to answer?
Do we have a date for that? Yes.
Yeah, so we have some tentative dates, but it's still finalized, and we will have a market simulation call this week. Our market simulation coordinator will communicate the final date of market simulation. So what happened will be we provide 2 trade dates for market simulation, and the first one is for market participants to see the settlement results. And some market participant wants to compare 2 scenarios, yes, to elect USD or no, not to set USD. So we are providing an opportunity for you to make that change. That way, whoever are interested to see the both scenarios can see that. So the first trade date is intended for you to see the settlement results for whatever in set up in the system. And if you want to see the different scenario, you can submit a CD ticket to our market simulation team and request to change the election. And then our system will implement your election, and then we provide another cycle, another trade date for you to see the results of the second scenario.
So if we want to elect to not settle, we have to submit a city ticket to the market sim team before the scenario?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that way you will have you will be able to see results for both scenarios, and then when the system goes into production, you can make an informed decision by submit for election for the production environment.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Let's go to our next question in the queue. Your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead. Tyler, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead. I believe we might have lost connection with Tyler. There were a couple of chat questions that I forwarded them. Would you like?
If I can read those. Hi, this is Cynthia Hinman, and I'm going to go through today's chat questions. Most of these have been answered before, but I'll read them anyway just to make sure that everybody's got the information they need. The first question was, where can we find today's presentation?
That will be on the Stakeholder Initiative page and on the CAISO website, and I'll have that information posted for you.
Right, and also this is being recorded, so when we get the recording, that'll be posted as well. Okay, next question, and I'm not sure what this refers to, so if anybody has additional information, it just says, any particular suggestion for 2022 EIM class? I think we need more information to answer that. So whoever wrote that, if you can fill in what it is you're looking for. The next question is, have the BPMs been updated for the affected charge codes?
Wilma, can you take, or Wilma Housekeeping, can you take that?
Yeah, so we have filed an urgent PRR. We will be updating the EIM BPM by 9/1. And I think the charge configuration guide in settlements probably already have updated, right, Shuping?
Yeah, we already post all those configuration guides.
Yep. Good, thank you.
Okay. The next question is, when is the market sim scheduled for? And I think we already answered that. And if you listen in on the market sim call on Thursday, you can get the additional details. Next question. If we do not elect to settle, do the billing determinants for 64770 just move to the other impacted charge codes?
So I have a clarification question for that. Why are they talking about 64770? 64770 is an imbalance energy offset. The UFE charge code that we are going to have, they are going to see an direct impact is 64740. So if we elect not to settle, if you elect to settle UFE, everything will be, as all the settlement charge codes will be same as prior to this implementation. If the election is not to settle UFE, you will see a direct change to UFE settlement charge code, which is 64740, and you may see other impacted charge codes like 67740 because it's in a condition offset, loss offset, and 64770 also we will not be including that UFE amount in the HAS neutrality. But there is no direct connection to 64770. Does that help? Whoever asked that question?
If you need additional information, please either post your comment in the chat, or you can call in and ask it verbally for clarification. Thanks, Uma. The next, that's not really a question, but I'll read it. I thought this presentation was the example of what the impacts to the charge codes would be. If you have a question, send that off to us. The next question is, where is this Excel file containing the example posted? I don't see the file in the stakeholder initiative page.
I can answer that question. So it's supposed to be on the September 29, 2020. There's an example file there, but the link might be broken. So Ravi, can I send you that file and you can share with market participants, or how to?
Because I'll update mine with the market participant. The stakeholder initiative page. I'll update that with this presentation after I make a few changes to it based on the questions we've gotten. Okay,
I can send you the Excel file and then you can share with everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. That's the last question. Heidi Carter did provide some helpful information for folks that want to see things covered in 2022. So you can send your suggestions to customerreadiness@caiso.com. So there are no additional questions in the chat right now that I can see. If somebody has questions on the phone, I'm sure Yasi would be happy to open up your line. So are there any additional phone questions?
Yes, they are. Your line is unmuted. Please go ahead. I have the name as Jin Shane. Your line is unmuted. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, this is Shin from Vista. Early question, I just want to clarify that. What I was asking is, so for 2022 class, are we also going to be making an internal decision and submit the election letter by October 31st this year, since we are going in March next year?
This is Uma. That is correct.
Okay.
So if you want to elect not to settle UFE for 2022, you need to submit the election letter by 10/31.
Okay. Well, great, Woman. I think we can probably ask you more questions today. We have a track 5 call, so.
So actually,
Yeah.
I want to make I just want to clarify. So it's not everybody are eligible to make the selection. It's only for entities that use a load derivation method for the but if you have demand meters, distribution demand meters, and we still require you to settle your fee because that's more accurate.
That's great clarification, Shifeng. Can you can you say that again? Because your it seems like the audio was digitized just a little bit. What do you say the qualification to be qualified to elect this? You know, one way or the other. What is the condition we have to meet?
Yeah, the condition is if you have a distribution demand meters and you have accurate demand data, then you're still required to settle your fee. It's only for folks that will derive their demand data. It's called load derivation method. Then those entities can elect not to settle your fee, because our goal is to provide the most accurate methods for settlement possible. So if you have distribution demand meter, and you can submit accurate demand data, you're still required to settle your fee.
Okay, thank you. That helps.
Mm-hmm.
There are no verbal questions on the line.
All right, thank you. If there are no further questions, I will update the PowerPoint to include some of the questions that came through in chat and verbally, and this will be on the stakeholder initiative page as well as the CAISO. So I thank you all for joining. If you do have any questions, please feel free to either submit a city ticket for specific questions about the change, or if you have questions about this training, you can submit it to customerreadiness@caiso.com. Thank you all for joining.
That concludes our conference. Thank you for using Event Services. You may now disconnect.